I am a sophomore, class of 2019, and I am a biology major with a chemistry and math double minor. I looked at the patterns of parrotfish abundance on the U.S. Virgin Island of St. John in January of 2017, and we were looking at how parrotfish abundance influences coral reef health, because parrotfish are algae eaters and the algae is competitive with the coral health. Therefore, we read a couple papers that suggest that the abundance of parrotfish influences reef health, and it's a good indicator of how healthy a reef is. And so we found that there was a slight increase in parrotfish abundance, which is really good. And it only decreased actually in 2 sites, which is a little bit interesting. We don't know what factors influence that. There are several things. So we're just keeping an open mind. And then we looked at each species, and parrotfish have 2 phases, an initial phase and a terminal phase. The initial phases are all females, and the terminal phase is all males. And we found that there are a lot more initial phase parrotfish than terminal parrotfish. So then what we looked at is trying to find a way to accurately depict this in a very visual representation of what we were seeing in the water. So we created a map with the pie charts of the proportions of species and for initials and terminals, so we can get a good look at what type of species are in the water, and it kind of has an interesting picture. So we can see in the south side of the island there are a lot of queen parrotfish, and on the northern side there are more stoplight parrotfish. We don't know what influences that, but the north side does receive a lot more wave action, and stoplight parrotfish are what we call a generalist species. Generalist species are not peculiar about where they live. They don't need specialized conditions, so that may be one factor that's influencing this. We also found that there was a significant number of initials to terminals in all locations, and an interesting thing is that in the mangrove sites that we sampled 3 mangrove sites, there was no terminal parrotfish and there were only initial parrotfish. This kind of makes sense though, because the mangroves are little reef nurseries for initial fish and baby fish, so you'll see a lot of little fish that are itty bitty and they're just developing, so it does make sense, and then they'll swim out to bigger water.